works, it gets more exciting. You feel more in control. You have a better view of what you're doing and how it's being done. And it's in real time.
I'll save me eight points, 10 points on the bottom line.
The goal of this journey is to make you better, to make your business better, and to run better. And I promise you, you will get there if you stay the course and you go through this thing and you be intentional and you show up and you do the work.
This is wonderful for me. I mean, like, it's just giving me, I guess, guidelines, giving me my guys accountable, what I need to keep them accountable for.
The network of people and being able to learn from each other is really phenomenal.
Saving money by looking at things. I'm looking at labor. I'm looking at the cost, my prices of everything now. I'm paying attention to all the stuff that I really need to pay attention to make this restaurant successful.
When you get to know these people, you will absolutely fall in love with them.
Y'all's service is just unbelievable.
The team is even more amazing.
Every single person on this team is here to help you. There is no stupid question.
You can talk to anybody and you're going to get what you need, your questions answered.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm really glad to have you. I'm excited. This is a presentation on what the top restaurants are doing to drive 15, 20, and 25% profit levels. This is something that is important for every restaurant to be able to achieve. We want you to be able to serve your community, your family, and your employees. And I'm going to be giving, an hour, a little bit more of an hour presentation. And it's to truly show up and serve the restaurant industry, to make sure that I am here to show up for you, that gives you the tips and tricks that you need to run your restaurant at a high level. Okay. And with that, comes some processes that need to happen, right? And so those processes and all those things that you need to do, if you think, I don't claim to say that, hey, I can change your life in 1 hour. So I'm giving everyone who is attending a free gift for attending this presentation. Now, in this presentation, I have this workshop that we've done, and in the workshop we have we've done it for many years, since 2014. We have had thousands of restaurants come through. In our room over here, we have a room that seats 100 people, and we started doing them in Vegas in 2004. And over the years, I've had done tons of consulting and helping hundreds and hundreds of restaurants. Then you start going to reach all of their employees' families. We have a massive reach in the whole restaurant community. And for everyone who attends this presentation, I'm going to give you a free recorded workshop. That's our 4-day how to run a restaurant from soup to nuts, that has all the things that I'm going to tell you about and teach you about today. All those processes, we go in and we teach them in that 4-day workshop. And then that 4-day workshop has, in fact, let me show you what that looks like. Oops. So I got some catering stuff from you. Here's the running a restaurant workshop. In here we have, everything from, why systems are important, budgeting for your restaurant, checklists, how to teach hospitality, the 4 calculations of cost of goods sold. I'm going to get into a couple of those calculations today, but I'm not going to cover all 4 of them. Inventory, best practices, batch recipe costing cards, descending dollar reports and usage reports, how to use them, menu engineering, sales forecasting, designing your menu, company culture, the restaurant owner matrix, which is, shows, what type of restaurant owner you are, from a pencil pusher to a head coach to social worker. All of that training and videos and resources is at your disposal in this. And I'm going to give every single person that's here this for free. Okay. So I'm going to put the free link to this up at the end as a thank you for your time. I know you are busy restaurateurs, and and I want to respect your time and know that that I care about your success, and I want to give you the tools for your success. So that's really, really, really important to me. And I want to make sure that you have that. Okay. So that's my promise to you. So if you want to make sure to get, I want you to comment now. I need people to participate. I want you to comment workshop. Comment workshop on there. That lets me know you want it. And I'm going to make sure that we deliver on that promise to you. So stick around to the end and you'll get that. And then we'll make sure that especially everybody that comments is going to get that workshop in there too. So, all right. So we appreciate that. We are, that free gift. Now, I have this free gift for you, but who am I? What gives me the authority to be able to show you? So Carla has raised her hand, if you can see that in there too. So maybe you can message her in the Q&A. So if we go in there, so I have Rachel and Lynn here helping moderate. They're going to be able to answer your questions and help you out in the chat. Okay. So I've been consulting since 2005. I actually became a restaurateur that was looking for systems. And I had grown up in the business. I had grown up running restaurants. I started off as a dishwasher, opened my first restaurant at 27, had a multi-restaurant operator. About 2004, the time our company was founded, I was seeking out, I wanted to increase my bottom line, right? So I was kind of like everybody else and thought, hey, if I want to increase my bottom line, I just need to increase my sales. If I increase my sales, I'll increase my bottom line. And because, that those ego-driven chef type people like I am, thought that, hey, I'm just going to create great experiences. People are going to eat, and that's how I'm going to increase my bottom line. And so I went to this marketing conference. And in that marketing conference, you have all these people that are, here's the email program if you buy it. Here's the PR program if you buy it. Here's the all the different marketing tools if you buy it, right? And so nobody was actually showing up and delivering content that I could take care of, take back to my restaurant, implement. But then at the end of it, this gentleman, David Scott Peters, went up on stage and actually had the integrity to teach something I could take home. And so at that point, I started implementing like crazy. And thereafter, he hired me on to help him as a chef, just kind of, helping out. By the 2005, I was on the road consulting. And over the years, I have consulted in hundreds of restaurants actually, and that's not just my reach is thousands of restaurants, but actually physically walking in, it's hundreds of restaurants. I have a 1,000,000-mile award here to prove it, and that's not like bonus credit card miles, that's actual 1,000,000 miles flown domestically, and that's a big deal. That's a lot. At 1,500 miles a flight, you start adding up to 1,000,000. That's a lot of miles on the road consulting. And so I have a lot of experience with making restaurants extremely profitable. And I continue to do it today. And in fact, I'm even better at doing it now. And in 2011, we developed software to take these things that we were doing hands-on and consulting and making it to where restaurants had these tools at their fingertips to be able to execute on their own. And so with that consulting and that experience and my own restaurants and our far reach, we have developed these franchise systems that the chains use and bring them to independent operators on a massive scale with enterprise systems, budgeting, POS software, restaurant management software, checklist software, accounting software. All the tools that you need, we are providing for restaurants. I have a recent client who was showing me their books. They just started with us January 1st, and they're roughly $3.5 million volume, so a good volume store. They've already increased profits by 70 grand over the first couple of months of the year, and that's a lot of money to go after. Now they're higher volume, so you're talking 300,000 a month in sales, but 20% profit on 300 grand is 60 grand a month. So for them, they've actually gone above and beyond that too. So from barely break even to making above 20% profit out of the gate too. So I'm really proud of that. If you don't believe me, I can get you in contact with this person and then you can talk to them yourself. He's actually in our testimonial videos. I have those there too. So I just want you to know that I'm here to show up for you. Not asking you to do anything, but follow along for the ride, learn a couple things, and we're here to serve you well. Okay. So for those, I see that we have a lot of people that are joining just a couple minutes late. So I just want to reiterate really quick. You stay till the end of this presentation. I'm going to give you our recorded workshop for free. It's a 4-day workshop that we did. It cost $2,500 to attend that workshop. I'm going to give it to you for free if you hang around and listen to me teach what the best restaurants are doing to drive 15, 20, 25% profits. Too. I not only want to be have you getting profits back in your restaurant, driving profits, whether you're losing or maybe you're only making a little bit of money. I want you to get your time back. I want you to be able to show up to serve your family. That is so important to me. I want you to be able to show up for your family, your community. And so many times restaurants rob us of that. And so, and it's because they need our time. Table 20 needs their food right now. And so we get in this habit of just like putting out fires and killing the closest snake, however you want to say it, all the time. And we want to be able to escape from that. And so sometimes we got to take a step back to take those steps forwards. But I'm going to give you the know-how to be able to take those steps backwards so that you can take leaps forward in controlling your time, controlling your money, being able to lead your staff well, and show up for your community. Okay. And especially to show up for your family. That's the most important of all of those things too. I want to make sure that I serve you well. And so I'm going to give you tools and resources that go with it. That's what we do. We show up for you. We prove that we do what we do before you even spend a dime with us. Okay. So that's a really, really important thing. Now, the type of restaurant that we work with, we have anywhere between the average restaurant, somewhere around 5 restaurants per client. I have lots of clients that just have 1 restaurant, and I have clients that have up to 20 restaurants and 30 restaurants that are using the systems across all of them too. We've recently rolled out our enterprise system, so we're actually helping more and more very large chains because you can control all your stuff from one central area for all of your restaurants there. So it works for one restaurant, works for many restaurants too. The one that makes me sad and the type of client that we honestly struggle with sometimes to get is we have 2 main types of person that's using Restaurant Systems Pro. One, they're the person with their back against the wall that needs to find a better way of running, a better way of doing things. And that speaks to why we had a huge amount of growth after the pandemic. We also had a huge amount of growth after the 2008 financial crisis. It was a point in time where restaurants had to find a better way. And so we had a large contingent. And I'm really, really proud. You think 2008, I have clients that have been with me since 2004. And in fact, the average client has been with me 11 years. All right. So one type is person with their back up against the wall and they have to make a change. They don't have enough money for the payroll coming up and it's stressful and they're having to not pay bills to make sure they have payroll and vice versa. And even worse, not paying their taxes so that they can make payroll and all those things. That's the type of client that is with us. People that are making huge change in their restaurants and getting themselves out of this rut. Then the other type of client that works with us is the ultra-driven, ultra-successful, where they know they want 20 restaurants. They know they want to be making 20, 25% profit. They know they want to make a huge impact in the lives of their own lives, the lives of their family, and the lives of their employees. And so they're ultra-driven to be super successful. And they literally explore and do every single thing at their disposal to be able to drive profits and learn and have that learning mindset. So that's definitely a contingent of who we are. The person that I'm missing out a lot, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. The person that I'm missing out a lot on is the person that is just barely doing barely making profit. The National Restaurant Association says that the average restaurant's making somewhere around 3 to 5 points profit, closer to 3 points profit, right? And so you have the person that is making 6, 7% profit, and they go, "Oh, I'm double the average. I'm twice as good as everybody else. Look how amazing I am. I don't need any help. I'm fantastic. Oh, 20% profit? That person's a liar. It cannot possibly be done." And that's the type of person that struggles with it. They don't have that learning mindset. They don't have the will to be better every day. They think they've arrived at some sort of professionalism that's there. And it's sort of a sickness that goes through the restaurant industry. So if you have doubts, I ask you to stick around, open your mind to new things, because the world is changing fast. Technology is changing fast. Can you do things without tools? Yes, you can, but you end up working 80-hour work weeks. And so we don't want that. And so we want to give you the tools to success. So those are the type of people that that we're working with, and we really want to work with the people that want to save their restaurant and want to be ultra successful and really improve and learn and be part of a process too. What we teach is not a magic pill. It's like, oh, just plug in our software and plug in our systems and there you go. Profit just comes out the other end. You have to be consistent. You have to be accountable. You have to be a good leader. And we give you all the tools to execute, and we make a hard thing easier, I should say. It's still hard to take inventory. It's still hard to write schedules on budget. It's still hard to get all your accounting done and in real time and get weekly reports. But if we delegate and we use systems, we can actually execute those things very easily. Okay. So we want to get on the same page with our talk today. And so I want to talk to you about prime cost, right? And so I'm going to share my screen here, and prime cost is the measure that all restaurants can be measured by, okay? And we want to talk about what makes up prime cost. In fact, I was in, we're really involved with Restaurant Unstoppable. We think that Eric Cacciatore is on a mission to do great things in the restaurant space, and he's spreading an amazing message. And we work with him a lot. And I was in one of his forums the other day, and people were talking about, calculating labor. Do I do it on gross versus net? And I'm telling you here that we're calculating, okay, total cost of good, total cost of good, including like food and liquor and everything you're selling, total labor costs. Owner salary is not always included. If you're not an active manager, you may be getting a salary, but it's not part of prime cost. But the question on gross versus net, which one do I calculate off? And I heard some people, and I think it's kind of valid. They were saying, hey, I want to go off net, because if I'm going off net, at least if they're doing well off net, it's going to be better once I calculate off gross on the back end, right? I understand the theory behind that, but we want to be calculating off gross, okay? And we have to be careful, because sometimes your POS systems count gross sales. Sometimes some of them I've even count the tips that you're collecting as gross sales, when those aren't sales at all. That's pretty obvious. A lot of them count the sales tax that you're collecting that is owed to the government as sales coming in. And sales tax that you collect is not part of your sales too. So gross sales are those sales before discounts, okay? Not including sales tax. Okay, and that's really, really important to get that definition down. Now, why do I not want to count off net? Well, what happens is, let's use food costs as an example. Let's say you run a marketing campaign and you do this 2-for-1 special on Facebook, right? And on that 2-for-1 special for Facebook, you say, hey, we're gonna put this 2-for-1 hamburger special out, right? And so you go through and you sell all these hamburgers, and you go through it, and then you calculate food costs off net, and your food cost goes up, right? It's going up because we discounted and we're going off net, right? Well, what that does is it makes the chef just go, or your kitchen manager go, well, my food cost is high because of the special you ran. It's not really because I was mismanaging product. It's not, when you go off net, it's not a good report card for how you're actually operating, and managers will slough off the variance that you have as things that are outside of their control. And we want our grade that we get, which is our numbers, based on our numbers, to be controllable, right? And so now what I want, so that I get a good feedback as a kitchen manager chef, I want to calculate off gross, because now only variance of my food costs going up or down is, changing in prices, misuse of product, over portioning, spoilage, things that are that need to be managed by the chef. Now, obviously, prices can't necessarily be managed, but you can at least, if you're doing systems right, you know your theoretical cost and all those variants in there. So going off gross is really important too. Also, when it comes to, I don't have time to teach it today, we teach it in our workshop too. Going off gross for labor is really important because we actually don't even want to go off percentages with labor. We want to track based on what our necessary sales are too. So that's just a little peek into what it should be. Now, traditionally, it would be that our prime cost would be a 65% for a full service restaurant. But what's happened is over time, I would change this to $1 million now. This is probably a year old. That if somebody's doing, and you know, I have people doing less than 850,000 a year hitting a 55 prime. But as a rule, if you're doing it, especially with inflation or everywhere it's going, if you're doing about $1 million a year in sales, then there's no doubt in my mind that you shouldn't be at a 55 prime cost. And what 55 prime cost leads to is a 45% gross margin, right? And so a 45% gross margin is talked about in this book. Now, this book's a real page turner here. Let me give you the title. Warren Buffett and the Interpretation of Financial Statements. Sounds like a really a read that just keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time, right? But I'm a nerd, and I was consuming this book because, hey, I want to know what the best investor of the world, the best judge of a company in the world, you could say, is Warren Buffett, right? Berkshire Hathaway Investments. That's a good measure to see, like, hey, what does this expert in the industry, expert in business say is a good target? And so what it did is it backed up our 55 prime cost, because he teaches a 45% gross margin in this book, and a 45% gross margin is a 55 prime cost. And that's what you need to generate wealth. That's kind of a minimum that they're looking for if they want to invest it. So if you want a restaurant that Warren Buffett would want to invest in, you need to be running a 45% gross margin. Now, is Berkshire Hathaway going to acquire your restaurant? No, it won't even move the needle on their multi-billion-dollar company. But what I'm saying here is I want you building wealth for your family, okay? And I want you to be able to make a difference in people's lives. And that's where creating wealth will enable you and give you the tools to be able to do that. And so as a measure, that is a super important aspect here, okay? So as we look at prime cost, it can be, when we look at prime cost, it can show up looking differently in different areas, okay? And so it doesn't matter how you get there, all right? It could be family dining, where that's cost of goods sold of 30%. In fact, if anybody tells you what your food cost should be, run for the hills. I see consultants all the time telling people what their food cost should be, and it's different. We see it in our trainings all the time. Food cost is different for everybody, and it shows up looking different for restaurants. What is a constant is prime cost, and we want to get you to 55. In fact, do your own math right now. Think about what your total cost of goods sold and total labor is in your restaurant, and think what it would mean to you to get to 55. Okay. And so do me a favor. If you want to get to a 55, just put 55 in the comments, right? Put 55. If that's where you want to get to, that's something that you want to achieve too. And also do your own math. If you're running a 65 right now, that's 10 points to your bottom line that will translate to. If you're running a 75, a lot of times I'll see restaurants right in that 3% range. That means they're running a 65 to 70 prime cost if you're making 3%. Too. Sometimes it depends on your rent and debt service and your situation. You could be running a 75 and losing money. It depends if you're high rent, if you have a lot of loans that you're paying back. So we need to make it work for your situation. So it could be a 30% cost of goods sold, 25%. Burger restaurant, maybe this is a pizza restaurant, or maybe call this a West Coast restaurant. This is Washington, Oregon, California. I have to run a low cost of goods sold because all my servers are making $16.50 an hour. Right. And so I have to make a difference by having a low cost of goods sold. That's where higher prices are going to come from on menus and all that. Right. Or I might be like a steakhouse situation where it's $100 steak on my menu that costs me $40 to put on the plate for a 40% cost of goods sold. Now that's a high cost of goods sold, but it's $100 a plate steak. So that's going to make my labor be low, right? So high cash contribution, high percentages, but better cash contribution, low labor. In all three of these scenarios, we're getting to a 55 prime cost. When we work with you, we identify exactly what your mix should be and how you get there. It's a really, really important thing, okay? Now, when we do this, we have to believe it's possible. So I want to show you some people that have gone ahead of you that have hit these different prime cost levels. Jared Field, 50% prime cost. Jeremy Waller, 51% prime cost. Peter Sclafani, 54. Ralph Lewis, 55. Mark Link, 48%. Steve Brown, 44. Steve is from Esparza, Texas. So Esparza's in Grapevine, Texas. And he was the first person I ever achieved a sub 40 prime cost in working with them. He had a 39 for a point in time there. He averages about 44 throughout the entire year. Okay. So we need you to believe it's possible. Okay. And you must believe that your goals are possible, because if you don't believe them, it's like the whole Henry Ford quote. If you think you can do a thing or you think you can't do a thing, you're right. Okay. So this comes with attitude. This comes with commitment. And so I have a story for you on belief. Now, the picture you're looking at here, that was taken on May 6, 1954. Britain's Roger Bannister ran the 4-minute mile for the first time in human history. And it's quite incredible because it was believed to be an impossible feat. It was believed that the lung capacity was not possible to be able to get the oxygen to be able to do it, the sustained speed, the ability to run a 4-minute mile was believed to be impossible. Okay. And Britain's Roger Bannister did what was thought to be the impossible in 1954. Okay. So literally thousands of years of human existence. And it finally happened that somebody did what was thought to be impossible. Okay. So you would think that Roger Bannister is the star of the story. Okay. But Roger Bannister is not the star of the story. Roger Bannister is like those people that I showed you beforehand. They ran the 4-minute mile already, because the star of the story is that on June 21st, 1954, okay, only 46 days after Roger Bannister did it the first time, the second person ran the 4-minute mile. Okay. And so the reason I tell the story is because it took belief that it could be done to inspire the next person to do it, and the next person, and the next person, and the next person. I actually don't know how many people have done it. I think there's a few high schoolers. It's still sub 50, I think, somewhere in there, maybe in the 30s of people who have run the 4-minute mile, right? So does that mean that anybody can just say, oh, I'm gonna believe that I can run the 4-minute mile and just go do it? No, you have to train, you have to do the work, you have to put in the effort, you have to do what it takes to be great. But when you know that it's possible, you're much more likely to achieve your goals, right? Because what happens is people do the work on achieving their goal, and somewhere along the line, they go, you know what, it's not going to be possible. And they stop working towards that goal. And they sometimes stop right before success is going to happen, right? And so what we need you to do is believe that it's possible, put in the effort too. We get you really, really fast results. And we work really hard to get you really fast results. So that you can believe and take the next step and do the next system and the next system and the next system. And so I want to get you early, quick results. And that's how we set up our path to greatness in our systems. Okay. We give you the paint by numbers path to follow. Do this first, which is going to be budgeting. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but here are those people. And that's Jeremy that I told you about. Here we go. And then there's Peter that I told you about. He's in Louisiana solo. I'm actually going to bring up his system and show you that too. Ralph Lewis in Florida. There's Steve Brown. Right. And there's Mark Link that I told you about. They've all achieved it And I need you to believe that you can achieve it. And I know you can, because we do it all the time with over and over again. And we continue to do it. I used to do it by consulting, but today I have the software company where I can help everyone achieve it too. There's consultants that'll tell you, and in fact, you know, there's some validity to it too, because I charge $10,000 a month to consult, and I have Gino on our team that does it. And it's really for buying speed, because you could be at our bottom level of membership and still achieve what we could do for you for $10,000 a month. And what it is it's all about will. If you pay the 10,000, it's because you have high volumes and you're paying for speed, right? But we're still going to help you get there. We're still going to help you do it, even if you're at our lowest level of membership. We're going to give you all the tools and make it possible too. And that makes it, that for me, that is much more. It gives me broader reach in the industry, a bigger impact in the industry, and I want to make sure that I'm showing up for you all. Okay. All right, so that's really, really, really important for me. Okay, so now if I'm going to achieve this, I have to have a budget. So Rachel, can I get my board here? So budgeting is the first goal that I'm setting towards doing this. And you've heard this before, you know, business, we have to have a goal, we have to put it on paper, and we have to go get it. And so my number one goal in achieving what I need to achieve is having my budget. Right? We have to allocate our resources properly in the right spots. We have to put a name to every. I thought it was going on its own. We have to put a name to every dollar. We have to, like Dave Ramsey teaches in personal finance in budgeting is, hey, here's the cash envelope system, right? This is how much money you have to spend. This is all you got once that money's gone. So we got to start allocating our money. And if we can proactively do that, and in fact, in our system, we start with budget, and then it's connected to systems through the software that disperse this down to somebody's level of understanding. For example, you may have a big picture budget, but now we have this labor allotment system that says how many hours by department you can schedule. And now somebody can write a host schedule on budget without being privy to the big picture systems that are involved in your restaurant. And if you get all of your team pushing in the right direction, doing the things that you need to do, you're more likely to achieve those goals. Okay, so that's a really, really important factor on that. Okay. So when we have this budget, we also, I also want to tell you about, you know, another good business book to read. And it's this book right here called Profit First. Okay, by Mike Michalowicz. It's one of the principles that they teach is actually for business rather than having a cash envelope, because I'm not going to add a $3,000, give a cash envelope of $3,000 to my chef, right? I'm not going to do that. So what they teach in Profit First is, hey, having different bank accounts too. You got Joseph? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So, so we give you those, principles to follow. Now in Profit First, it's like, hey, here's my payroll account. Here's my my cost of goods sold account, my liquor purchasing account, and you have like 5 or 6, 7 different accounts. And the reason for that is Parkinson's principle. Parkinson's principle says that as a resource increases, the demand upon that increase will increase proportionally. Now, what does that sound like? That sounds kind of complicated, right? But it's like a tube of toothpaste. You use more toothpaste out of a tube of toothpaste when it's full than you do when you get to the end. So it'll apply to everything from your inventory levels. If I have too much of anything on my shelves, my staff will naturally overuse it. The Profit First principle is if I have too much cash sitting in a bank account, I will overuse it. So we start to allocate it. Now, our software and systems allocates that without the different bank accounts. It lets you know how much money you have to spend in every single area. And it's all proactive in doing it before you actually spend a dime on anything. And you know the second you may have overbought, and you know when you've overscheduled, all in real time. So that you can have this dashboard that lets you know exactly where you stand with your finances. And if you're able to do that and set good targets, you're going to make a big difference here. Yep. All right. So when it comes to it, we want to turn traditional accounting on its head. And so traditional accounting says that sales minus expenses equals profit. That's traditional accounting. Like, here's my sales at the top of my P&L, there's my expenses. And when you think of it this way, profit's just something that's just kind of left over at the end, right? It's just left over at the end. It's not truly something that can be managed to. We're a victim to it. And what we want to do is we're going to turn it on its head by saying, by making the equation different. And the equation is going to be different, is we're going to say that, hey, sales minus profit equals expenses. And when we turn that on its head, we can make a difference, right? And so what this says is that instead of this just being something left over, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to control our destiny, and we're going to manage our life to make sure that this thing right here is something that we can control, and we can control it through systems. So many of you think that you're just left to be stuck with your situation and where you're at, and there's not a lot you can do about it, right? And I want to stress that we have to figure out how we need to figure out exactly how to make the hand we're dealt work for us. We're not a victim to it. I was actually on one of our training calls today. We're going in to look at labor, and the owner prefaced it and said, hey, I just need you to know we're at minimum staffing, right? And it's like, that sounds like something a kitchen manager will tell you, because they don't really want to manage well, right? Or the managers that don't understand, because they think they need to put a person in an area, right? They may have a salad station there, and they think they got to put a person there because the layout of the kitchen says that somebody's supposed to be working that station. But if it's not efficient, we have to make our numbers work, no matter what the layout of our restaurant is, no matter what our rent is, no matter what our debt is, even if we owe back taxes to the government, no matter what we're doing, we have to make our situation work. And so I have a story for you that I want to share. And this story is the mission of Apollo 13. Okay. So the Apollo 13 mission is a mission to the moon, and the astronauts were training. Thank you, Rachel. The astronauts were training, and just things didn't go as planned, right? Just like they don't go as planned in your restaurant. We don't predict our sales accurately. We buy too much food. We buy too little food. People no show for work. So many things happen that derail the original plan we had. And so we need to be able to change and bob and weave and not be a victim to any circumstance that we have. And the Apollo 13 mission is a true testament to human ingenuity and the will to survive. And I need you to bring that level of energy to your restaurants. I need you to change your life and the life of your family forever. And so the mission starts off with them grounding the pilot that they've been training their whole lives to, or their whole careers, to go on this mission to the moon and walk on the moon. They ground the pilot because he might be getting measles. It was a maybe, it wasn't a for sure. And he never ended up getting measles, by the way. But they couldn't have it to where he ended up getting sick on the mission, right? So it's part of the testing that they do and go in there. So right away, the pilot gets grounded, and they have the backup pilot that has to step in. Kevin Bacon, actually, in the movie, ends up being the backup pilot, right? So anyways, we go in there, and they're on the mission to the moon. Now they've survived the liftoff. Just the launching into space is stressful enough that for the families to be watching. Everybody's on edge. They have a successful mission. They launch into space. They go to rotate the oxygen tanks because they have to spin them so that the gases don't settle in the vacuum of space. They go to spin the tanks, and a small explosion happens on the mission, right? And with that small explosion that they survive, it's just a small explosion, they learn that they cannot risk firing their booster rockets. If they fire those booster rockets because they don't know and they can't see what's happening, it's a very, very high likelihood that the whole ship will just explode if they go to fire those booster rockets. So immediately they have to start making a change. They can't fire the booster rockets to launch themselves back to Earth. And so now NASA has to, and Houston has to start calculating for them to do a flyby of the moon now instead of a landing on the moon mission. And they have to do all the mathematical calculations, and they can't just give up. And so they have to get on the right trajectory. So they get caught up in the moon's gravity, slingshot it around the moon, and launch on a path to home, and then use the landing pods, rockets, to get them on the trajectory and finish getting them on a path back to the Earth's orbit so they can make a re-entry. Okay. Pretty stressful. Can't miscalculate. You got to be precise. You have to have a team of people working on the mission. It can't be just one person. And so many of you restaurant owners are doing everything by yourself. It takes an entire team of professionals to make it happen every single day. Same thing with the mission to the moon, right? So they do the calculations. They successfully slingshot themselves back to Earth. They're on their trajectory back. And now they find themselves in a different part of the spaceship than they originally planned on being. And so the picture you see in front of there is their next problem. If it's not one thing, it's another, one thing after another, right? Well, they needed to filter the CO2 out of the air. And now they're in a different pod than they had originally planned in being. And one pod had a square filter and another pod had a circular filter. And so now they have to connect the circular filter with the square filter. Why they designed two different filters for the two different pods is beyond me, but it's the situation they're in. You may have designed your restaurant wrong. You may have opened with too much debt. You may have, all these problems that you have to resolve. Whatever it is, whether it was right or wrong or whatever it is, the reality is they had a square filter and a round filter, and they had to make them fit. So they threw everything that was in the spaceship on the table, and all the engineers had to figure out how to connect them. They used the plastic covering on the binders. They had to write out systems because now it's cold because they're conserving energy, and they're lacking oxygen because of the CO2 buildup in the spacecraft. So they have to make this ultra clear for the foggy brain astronauts to be able to execute the plan and mission that they have here. So that's like having your tired cook have to execute the mission. Your young host that's never worked in the restaurant industry have to execute the mission. So we have to have systems and processes that they can run so that you can make difficult, complicated things easier for your staff to do, and easier for you to keep them accountable to, right? And so they had to connect that, and they successfully did that. And the mission survived. They made it home, they landed, and against all odds, when everybody thought that they weren't going to make it, they survived, right? And so I share that with you to inspire you to not feel like you're a victim to your circumstances, that there is a way out, that you can change the equation. You don't have to make profit something that just left over for you at the end, that you can control it and own your expenses and plan for your expenses and make them be what you want to be so that your profit can provide the life that you want for your family. Okay. So that's a really, really important part of it. And we start with budgeting, right? Now, with budgeting comes the needing to know where our break-even point is, right? And with budgeting, so we have a break-even point, and we need to understand our break-even point for our restaurant. And some of you think that you know your break-even point, but it's really not an actual calculation that you've done. But it's actually something too. So if you want, you need to calculate and know your break-even point. So it's really, really, it's an important factor. If you may have think that you know it because at one point you looked at your books and you're about break-even point, so you think that's where your break-even point is. We want to actually calculate it. Now, I'm going to give you a simple version, all right? A simple version of calculating the break-even point that we can understand so that we can use the tools better. If we understand what's going on with the tools, because who cares about software? If we put garbage in, we get garbage out, right? So we have to have the right understanding of the tools. And when we understand the tools better, we're more likely to use them. One of my employees has a thing on their desk that says, if you don't use the tool, you become the tool. And so we want to use and understand the tool, right? So I have two scenarios, scenario A and scenario B. Okay, and so as we analyze break-even point, I look at scenario A, and in scenario A, I have 65% variable expenses, right? So these are my variable expenses. Okay, and as we go through restaurant A, we have these variable expenses. Now, variable expenses are a big part of every restaurant, and it's a lot different for restaurants and a lot of businesses. It applies to every business, but there's lots of variable expenses when it comes to restaurants, okay? And those variable expenses could mean like every single time I sell a beer, I have beer in that glass. So I have this cost that goes too. So as the dollars of beer sales go up, so will my expenses because I have to fill that glass with beer every single time. I have to pay somebody to deliver that beer. I have to run the credit card swipe. I have paper supplies for my food that's to go, right? So I have food on the plate every single time I sell it. So in the restaurant business, every single time you make a sale, there's a cost associated with it every single time. And so I want us to get a good understanding of what's going on with that. So in this case, if I have 65% variable expenses, what that means is that for every dollar I sell, that means I'm going to have 35 cents left over of every dollar I sell. Okay. So then with that, so that's my contribution margin. All right. And then here I'm going to have my fixed expenses, right? Those are things like my insurance, my garbage pickup, all of those items that go. And so I'm going to say in this case, we have fixed expenses of $25,000. $25,000 of fixed expenses, right? Sorry for my writing. Here. So we go through that, and if I get my calculator out, is calculator out. There's not a calculator. Do you know where my phone is? Thank you. All right. So sorry about that, everybody. Okay. So if I have $25,000 of fixed expenses, $25,000 of fixed expenses, well, my break-even point is going to be how many 35 cents is it going to take to pay for $25,000, right? So if I divide by 35 cents, it tells me it's going to be $71,428.57. Okay. So my break-even point, so I go from $0 all the way to break-even point, which is $71,428.57. Okay. Now, on that $71,428.57, that I have made no money at all. No money at all. Okay. So we're going to look at a scenario here where I go, okay, I'm going to do above break even. And I'm going to do exactly 10,000 more in sales. Okay. Now, a lot of times restaurants think that, hey, I'm going to make $10,000 because I've broken even here. And if I do 10,000 more in sales, I'm going to make $10,000. But that's actually not the case, because even after I break even, the next plate of food I sell still has a cost associated with it. It still has food on the plate. It still has a credit card swipe. It still has, you know, the labor to deliver, the hourly labor to deliver that, right? So there's still variable costs. There's still paper goods. There's still tinfoil to use. There's still plastic wrap to use. There's still these variable expenses here, okay? So we have our break-even point here. So, but what happens is after we break even at 71,000, our profit is actually $3,500, because now that 35 cents, it's not going towards my fixed expenses. It starts going towards my bottom line. So in this scenario, I made $3,500 in profit. Okay. Now, this is the restaurant business for you. Here's $91,428. 428.57. I will double profit and get to $7,000 here. In this scenario, 20,000 above break even point, I'm throwing 35 cents to the bottom line every single dollar after break even, right? Well, think about this. From 0 to $81,000, I made $3,500. From 81,000 to 91,000, I made $3,500. If that's not the restaurant business in a nutshell for you, all that work to make $3,500, well, so now what our goal is to get this lower. Let's lower that break-even point. And one of the ways we're going to do it is controlling these expenses. So now we're going to go through scenario B, 55% variable expenses here, okay? I go through here, my contribution margin is 45 cents, right? If I get my calculator out and I calculate this, I will have, so I still have $25,000 fixed expenses. That doesn't change. It's fixed, right? Still have I still have my rent. I still have my loan. I still have my insurance. I still have my other fixed expenses, right? So then I go through here and okay, I have my $0 where I'm starting from. And then my break even point is going to be 55,555.56. Wow. Okay. So now I want you to put in the chat 65,555.56. Put the right answer in the chat for me. I just did 10,000 extra over break even, my new break even point. What's my profit at 65,555.56? Hint, I'm throwing 45 cents to my bottom line each dollar after break even point, right? So 10,000, essentially 0.45 times 10,000. Can I see it in the chat? Who's got the answer for me?
Someone said 4,500.
4,500. All right. Yeah, you guys are doing the Q&A. Do it in the chat and everybody can see it. There we go.
They can't for no reason.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's not turned on. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry about that, everybody. Put in the Q&A. I'm so sorry. All right. So we go 55, 55, 56, the 65. Okay. So now if I look at this scenario, if I get my calculator out and I look at where we're at here, which thank you, Rachel, for getting my calculator. I got my sales were 91,428.57 minus my other break-even point, my new break-even point, minus 55,555.5, oops, 0.56 equals that times my new margin, 45 cents, equals my new profit is 16,142.85, right? And so this is what my clients start to see. So my new profit is 16,142.85. So in this same scenario, in this case, 91,000 gets me 7,000 in profits. In my new scenario, it's not exponential, but it's hockey stick profits. And that's what we want to see in the efforts that we make. Okay. All right. So understanding break-even point with our budgeting is important. Now, don't worry, our software does it for you. So if I'm looking at a scenario here, looking at the scenario here, get logged in. I want to show you what that budgeting looks like and how we make it easier for you. Am I sharing my screen? Yes. Okay. And I'm going to go look at our budgeting software here, and I'm going to bring up an example. Okay. So when we look at this, and now the break-even point's a lot more complicated because we have, hey, here's sales that we have at the top that we're planning. And what we're doing here with the budget is we're pre-planning your P&L. We're pre-planning what your profit should look like, right? Profit first mentality, right? So here's our mix of sales as they come in. So if I'm doing 80% of my sales are food, so if I did $10,000 in sales, I would have $8,050 would be in food sales on average, right? Then my cost of goods sold, We have cost of goods sold target, and these are all calculated. This is 26% of my food cost. So you're seeing, hey, there's the overall target that we have there. Then we look at your payroll. Remember I talked about fixed and variable expenses? Well, here's a restaurant where I have, and in fact, if you're below 3 million, which this one's just below 3 million, we're going to be about 9% management labor, right? We want to replace you as owners with a full management team. And so this gives me 200, in this example with the restaurant doing just under 3 million, $264,000 in this scenario, that accounts for some of the taxes and things that get added on to my labor because I want my management to be around 10%. Then we're looking at our different, these are all variable expenses. So now we can easily, without having to be an expert in spreadsheets, we can easily differentiate between fixed and variable. If I click this would fix, changes to a fixed, back to a variable. I don't need to know formulas. I can just input my numbers and then I have targets. And we get down to here where we're saying, hey, here's my targets as I go across. And you can see that this changes slightly where I have a busy July and I have a 25% labor, but in February it's a 26% labor, so it's a higher labor percentage, but I'm spending more in July because I'm busier, right? Then we go through all of your expenses and we have fixed, variable, rent, fixed and variable. Some of the things might be credit card processing, like here's credit card processing, that would be a variable expense. Some of you are doing adding on those credit card fees onto your check if you're able to do it. Those are all different options that you have in there. The comps are at 2.3. So we have fixed and variable all the way through, and it calculates the prime cost. You can see here we got this budgeted around 55 prime cost, and we have a break-even point at the bottom down here. So each restaurant that's in my system gets a budget and then also gets there too. So I've shown you how you can do it. We also lay it out in the workshop that I'm giving you. I don't want to show up for you and say, hey, oh, here's the stuff if you buy it, right? I'm giving it to you, right? So it's all in that workshop and the training on budgeting and everything in there too. So I just wanted to share with you that system that we have there for you, okay? Really sorry about the chat not working, everybody. I'll stop asking you to comment in it there. So we go through that and and if we're budgeting, we have this certain target, right? And in that target, we have, like you saw in the budget, we had budgeted our labor, right? And so when we budget the labor, are you putting more tape up?
I can.
Yeah, because I think it's gonna fall off.
Okay.
There. Oops. There. So in the budget, actually adjust the camera so we can see it a little bit easier. There. Okay. In the budget, we have to account for our payroll. And a lot of times in your P&Ls, what happens is you guys have bi-weekly payroll or you have weekly payroll. If you're monthly, a lot of times it's out of the country, we have monthly, but most of you are bi-weekly or weekly. Most of you are bi-weekly. Okay, so it's going to be weekly and bi-weekly. That should be good. Thank you. Weekly and bi-weekly payroll. And so what happens is we end up getting into mistakes. So I'm going to assume a Monday to Sunday work week here. And you guys record your numbers here. So this is an example where, let's say we had a payroll in on the 25th of February. Okay. Actually, I'm going to have it end on I can't go back further than that. What's the 18th? So that would have been the 11th before that.
Yes.
So that means you would have had here on the 12th, you would have had a payroll that would have started, right? And then you would have the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th here, and then you got the 18th of February right there in this example, okay? And then what happens is 5 days later, that payroll gets paid, which is the 1st of March, right? So then what happens is you have this payroll on the 1st of March that gets recorded, right? It gets recorded on March 1st, which means it hits your books on March 1st as well, okay? Then the next pay period starts and we have it started here on the 26th of February, right? That week ended on the 10th, and then payroll hits again on the 15th, okay? So then we go through this and we go, okay, then we have another one that starts on March 11th, okay? And that gets through where we're at here, right? That week will end on Sunday the 24th, right? And then we go ahead and pay out that payroll on the 5 days later on the 29th of March, right? And so you end up with this scenario where you go, okay, I just now had 3 payrolls hit in March, right? And I still have an entire week left here. And in fact, this week it'll end on the 7th, and then we'll have another payroll on the 12th of April, right? And so what ends up happening is the reality is you look at your P&Ls and they're a bad report card for your restaurant. And in this scenario, we can go, hey, this is the 12th of February, okay? And it would go the 12th of February to the 24th of March compared to the 1st to the 31st of sales. Because your sales happen every day in your restaurant, right? And that is a terrible number to compare. The 12th of February to the 24th of, and that even includes your Valentine's Day labor. That's hitting your March P&L. That's so inaccurate, it's ridiculous. And so we want to get to where we're doing proper payroll accruals to show truly labor from the 1st to the 31st. And there's a couple ways around that. One of the ways around it is the 13 period accounting, right? Where you do 13 4-week periods, and then those payrolls fit nicely in that. The problem with the 13 period accounting is most of my bills now, my linen, maybe not my linen, but my electrical bill, my rent, my insurance, most of my bills are all going to be monthly bills. So now I have to accrue my monthly bills and do 13 periods. If I'm paying, 10,000 a month, now instead of me saying I'm doing 10,000 a month, now I got to say it's 120,000 a year divided up into 13 periods to accrue out my rent so that I get a good accurate picture of my P&L. That's complicated and not easy to execute as well. Okay. So from there, the other option is a 4-4-5, where you say 4-week, 4-week, 5-week. That allows me to have 12 periods, but I'm still going by week. The problem is I still have to accrue. I'll still have half of a payroll that needs to be moved from one period to another, and I still have to do these complicated entries that will mess it up. So when I go and look in our system here, I can go in and let me switch. And if you're following on Facebook, just request a recording in the comments and we can send it to you because you can't see my screen. Okay. So I go to my systems here and I'm going to look at payroll accruals. Okay, and here's what our system can do for you automatically, because these are complicated general ledger entries. So let me use February, for example. February is done, and we look at this. This restaurant uses a Wednesday to Tuesday period, okay? And when you go through it, you can see here that work week started on Wednesday, 1/31, okay, and ended on Tuesday. So here for February, I got 6 days of that week that belong. And so we know that the weekly payroll, this is a weekly payroll one, okay? We know in looking at this that my payroll was 15,719.78. It's connected to POS system. We know the payroll, right? You can import your payroll from your payroll company as well. And if I know what was in January, I can subtract that out, right? And so if I subtract that one day, 1992.73, it leaves me with only my February number here. Okay, so we get through that. Then obviously this is a full week. This is a full week. This is a full week. Now at the end, this week of 17,115, I have 5 days of payroll that fall in March. And so we subtract those days out, and what's only left over is only my February. So this is now only my February payroll, okay? And so now we start to generate a profit and loss for February. And I can look at my February profit and loss here and inspect it. So when I click on, there's that payroll number, it's actually truly showing me my February payroll exactly. March obviously isn't over yet, but now I know exactly from the 1st to the 29th, and I don't need to worry about doing these complicated general ledger entries to do my accruals. Then I have my food here. I can click on purchases and inspect them. If I, as we're going through, here's a Capital City produce invoice. We have the accounting code. We have some liquor because there's probably fruit from that produce company that's used for liquor. There's the picture of the invoice. We can inspect our expenses. We also need to automate this too. So if I'm looking at, what was that one from 2/2? If I look at that same invoice in the invoice log, back to 2/2 here, it was Capital City. If I'm looking at this, here's that Capital City produce invoice. If I double click on it, there it is. And if I click back to order, it's not going to only show me the invoice and the accounting code, but exactly what was purchased. There's my bar cost too. There was limes on that. And you can see that those limes are coded liquor. They're only using limes for the liquor, for liquor. Okay. So that's an important part of that equation. And that kind of covers some of the labor portion of what we're talking about. Okay. So we need the budget. We need to do that. So now, in there, thank you, Rachel. Appreciate that. In this, we have some other points that we need to hit. Okay. And we need to do in cost of goods sold, we have an important system, and that's inventory. Okay. Now, in our inventory systems, a lot of restaurateurs and especially young managers, they think that inventory is just so I know what's on my shelf, right? But it's actually an accounting equation. And what's important about that is in this accounting equation, we want to get to the product that we use. We want to calculate use. And we have to have inventory to calculate what we truly use. So as an example, let's say we have a Monday morning, right? I have a Monday morning, right? And I have 12 bottles of wine on my shelf, right? And then I get this deal and I purchase 3 cases. So I get I purchase 36 bottles, right? So what happens is if I just go off purchases, it's going to show me a purchase of 36 bottles here, right? But I might get to my ending inventory and I have 30 bottles on the shelf in my ending inventory. And this is, I say ending, but this is Sunday or Monday morning again, right? And we count again, right? So the importance is that when we do inventory, that we have to understand the use equation or our accounting cost of goods sold equation, which is beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending inventory equals use, or as other people call it, cost of goods sold. We call it use because we hope that we sold it. It could have been wasted, stolen, overportioned, any number of those things. So as I look at this in kind of a small scale here from a big restaurant, is I had 12 bottles on my shelf on Monday morning, beginning inventory. I bought 36 bottles. So now I know that I have 48 bottles available to sell. Everything I have available, everything I have plus everything I bought is available for me to sell. 48 bottles are available. I did not sell 30 bottles or use. See how I did that? See how I used the wrong word because we hope that we sold them, right? So now I get to the ending. I did not use 30 bottles. I subtract them. My use is 18 bottles. Okay. Now, a lot of times what happens, you go in your POS system and you'll find, hey, I sold 17 bottles, right? What a lot of restaurants are doing wrong is they're just doing purchases divided by sales, right? Purchases were 36 bottles. Let's say it was $10 a bottle. I have $360 of purchases, right? But if it costs $10 a bottle, well, that means my use was $180 really. It's my actual cost of goods sold number is half of that, right? Let's say you sold it for, $40 a bottle and I sold 17 bottles, right? So in the case here, if I did $40 times the 17 that were in my POS system, I'd have $680 of sales, right? So 360 purchases divided by sales divided by 680 gives me a 52.9% wine cost, right? When the reality is it's $180 divided by the 680, which is 26.47, when my ideal cost is 25% because I have a $10 bottle I'm selling for 40, but my actual cost was 26.4. The 52 is like, we just ignore it. And honestly, our books are so late, we probably look at it 3 months later and go, oh, well, we weren't profitable again. Oh, well, instead of being precise. Okay. So as we do all this stuff, I use followers and lines, it's super easy, but we're going to have to do recipe cards, right? We have to have recipe costing cards, because if we're going to know our use, like a bottle of wine's easy. One bottle of wine's a bottle of wine, right? But if I'm selling a hamburger, I know I got to have a bun on it. I got to have the meat. I got to have the cheese, the lettuce, the tomato, the portion of fries that goes on it. Am I putting aioli on it? I got batch recipes for that too. So it gets a lot more complicated. So we have to do recipe costing cards to make sure. I have templates in my workshop. I have templates for doing recipe costing cards. I have spreadsheets for doing it. Obviously, my software, it's way easier to do it, but I'm not holding you hostage here, right? I want to show up and deliver for you, okay? So recipe costing cards. Now, the recipe costing cards need to be connected in a database, and this is where the spreadsheets get difficult, is keeping prices up to date. Prices up to date, right? And then if I'm going to track usage, I got to be able to automatically calculate usage and connect it to my POS system. So if it's connected, if we connect our recipe costing cards to our POS system, then we know like how many, if I sold, 100 hamburgers, I know I should have used 100 buns, should have used 100, 100 beef patties, 100 slices of tomatoes, 100 leaf lettuces, right? I start to know my ideal usage, that I can compare my actual usage because I'm doing inventory to that number side by side and have all that automated. That comes with auto taking a picture of an invoice. I showed you the picture that I had in there to have that automatically done for you. I don't want you guys having to enter in that you bought this many cases of asparagus and leeks and all that too. And so we have technology that reads that stuff. You can do it manually, right? So that's an important part of it though. Okay. We have a very important, it's in the workshop, but we have a purchase allotment system that shows you exactly how much money you can spend on there. Too. So we need to get to that. We have auto pars where, hey, if I bought 100 cases of tomatoes over $100,000 in sales, well, I know that I'm going to need a case of tomatoes for every $1,000 in sales I do. Or if I bought, 10 cases over 100,000, then for every $10,000 I'm doing, I know that I need a case of tomatoes. And so we start automating these systems for ordering and stuff. Some of you have your bar manager or kitchen manager, it's only in their head, or maybe it's worse, it's only in your head, to where you're a slave to your business and only an order can happen if you're doing it. We got to be able to delegate this stuff. And so that's really important. Then we get into like true moneymaker stuff. So we have training systems in there, true moneymaker stuff I want to show you, right? And this is where we get into the true analysis that we're looking for here. And that's where if I do recipe costing cards and I'm tracking all this stuff, I can get into menu engineering, right? And this is where doing the hard work, connecting to our POS system, doing our recipe costing card gets us to where we can analyze our data on a deep level and drive profits to the bottom line. It's not going to be, you're not going to find 20% profit by just turning a system on and all of a sudden I'm going to find it. You're going to find it 1 point, a half point, in a whole bunch of different areas. But one of the biggest levers in driving profits is excuse me. Sorry, everybody. Is menu engineering. Okay. So I have a y-axis and an x-axis, right? And so here is going to be my profit per item. So we do the recipe costing cards and we have profit. Okay. And here is going to be my average profit that I'm looking at. Okay. And here, this is going to be my quantity sold on the y-axis, and here's going to be my average quantity sold here. So we have to have recipe costing information to be able to do this. But if here's my profit, okay, that means that anything further down the line is going to be a more profitable, and this is going to be something that's sold more. Okay, and so what happens is we start doing the work. We know our profit per item, and we start plotting these out. right? And our items get plotted out throughout here, okay? And we have, and all these dots are menu items too. And we'll do things like segment it, right? These are all my entrees, right? That way I'm not comparing a $5 appetizer with a $30 entree. Because obviously the $30 entree is going to have more profit and it's going to skew this, right? So you're going to compare same to same, appetizer to appetizer, entree to entree, dessert to dessert, cocktail to cocktail, all of it, right? And so what happens is we start to identify these things in this quadrant right here. These are our puzzles, right? And so this item right here, what it's showing me is that it's high in profit, low in sales. Okay, which makes it a puzzle. Why is it low in sales? And a lot of times you can drive profit to your bottom line just by figuring out how to get your servers to sell these more, to position them on your menu to sell more. Like I always like to tell the story of the client of mine that took a picture of ribs on a plate. It looked like a turd on a plate. Terrible picture, and they still sold more ribs. Okay, I'll take the turd on a plate because there's a picture of it, right? There's techniques that you can use that are going to add to your bottom line, right? And even if you don't execute them well, they still work. The way of positioning something first versus last versus in the middle, what's the best area? And going through the whole engineering process. So we have software that does this for you, and then coaching. We're SaaS, so we give you coaching with software, right? So the puzzles that go with this, right? So how can I take this and sell it more? I don't have to raise the price or change it, but I'm going to add a picture. I'm going to tell my servers, and we're going to try to move that up, right? Then we have over here, we have the stars, right? Our stars. These are things that are high in profit, high in sales, right? Those are things. So I can still, these become price elastic as well. And they're here. So I could sell this more and move it up the list here. Okay. These right over here, these are our plow horses. Plow horses. And I will be answering questions too. I know I'm going fast. I want to respect your time. Okay. So these are our plow horses. Now, if these are price elastic, I sell them a lot. And so I can raise the prices and move them over. By just changing the price, I will increase the profit. Right? The cost isn't going to change right now. Some of these have moved the other way because of pricing of costs going up. And so you have to adjust your price just to balance and get it back to where it was. Right? But our plow horses, these are things that we sell a lot of. Right? I like to tell the story of a local restaurant that was selling these pretzel bites. And the pretzel bites were $5 on the menu 12 years ago. And they're like $17 or $18 now, but they were so good, they just kept raising the price over the year. They sell them a lot, it's price elastic, raise the price, right? People walk in, they don't look at the menu, give me the pretzel bites, right? I want them, right? They're homemade in the store, fluffy little pillows of goodness, right? Great product. You should at least have your signature dishes that we can leverage because we're providing great entertainment, pleasure, escape, for our guests, and you deserve to make a profit on that. And the things that are selling the most are the most price elastic, and you're going to be able to raise the price without pushback from your guests, right? And so that's a win-win situation on raising these prices, selling these things more. Down here we have dogs. These are average lines. That's an average profit, average sales. So every restaurant's going to have dogs, but this might be the kid's hot dog, right? I don't sell a lot of them, and it's not that profitable, right? No matter what, you're going to have these items on your menu. You may look to get rid of some of your dogs. It's just going to skew the averages. So you'll always have something here no matter what. So you can't get rid of them because these are average lines. But it lets us analyze our menu and make really good decisions. This is where the money's at. This is what it takes. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go in the Q&A, and I want you guys to answer in the Q&A. If I don't think I'm missing anything. If I can have permission, I need you to tell me in the Q&A because our chat's not working. Sorry. In the Q&A, if I can have permission. So are they not getting the chat?
They can see ours.
They can see our chat? Okay. Can they click the link on it? Okay. All right. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want to fulfill our promise. Okay. I want to fulfill our promise and give them the link to the workshop. Okay. So Rachel's going to drop that link in there for you to go to the free workshop here. Okay. So I'm going to go and Here's that link, right? If I'm logged into, I'm going to log out. When I log out, what you'll see when you get that link, this is the catering one.
I just put it in the chat.
You put it in the chat. Okay, perfect. So what you'll see is this how to run a profitable restaurant sign in. You'll be able to put in your email, create a password, and that's yours forever. And you can always log in, watch all the videos, download the resources, get in-depth training on the things I'm going through here. Okay, that is yours. I want to deliver for you guys. You have that there. So go click the link. That's theirs. If you're having trouble with it, just in the Q&A, let us know. But click that link right now. Bookmark that page. If I hit I'm already a member, I'm going to log in. This is what I will see in here. And then all these sections have all these trainings. There's like 40 hours of trainings in here, right? I'm only going an hour. It's 40 more hours of gold in here, okay? And I'm giving it to you, but everybody else that attended this live had to pay $2,500 to be here, okay? So I'm giving it to you. Right. So thank you. You can even see here's the menu engineering software and stuff on menu engineering. We go into more depth on that. It's a whole hour on just that. Right. So we have this for you. So thank you so much for watching all the way through. Can I get a yes in the Q&A if you would like to see what it would be like to work with me? Can I get a yes in the Q&A? I want to get permission too. So just give me a yes in that Q&A. Sorry about the chat. All right. Marie says yes. Of what it would be like to work with us. Okay, so Rachel's gonna, so I have this thing called the Restaurant Mastery program. In here, I actually have it in the Restaurant Mastery program here. Oops, Restaurant Mastery program. Oops, here we go. In my Restaurant Mastery program, let me log in and show you. This is recordings of it, but which we also give you if you work with us, all right? And it has 60 days of training. So not only is it like workshop training, like without our software, but actually getting in and actually teaching the systems and applying our software. And with it, you get our software included, okay? You get our software included. You can see here, we've been doing them for years. You can see here that I have my March group that's in here. We did day 21. The recording from today's training is already up in here that we did. Okay. And then I have my February group that is on like day 50 right now with it. Okay. So this training is 2 months of our software. And so we're giving you at the invoicing level and all that. So where all your invoices are processed, you'll be able to create books, you'll be able to get bookkeeping done. It is $1,500 value in our software. The 2 months that we're giving you. Plus, you're getting me and my team training you every day. It costs $10,000 a month to get me to train. I'm training you a group. We've valued that at a $2,500 value, right? So essentially what I'm giving you is $6,500 value, okay? And we did sell that for $297. Rachel's dropping the link in there now for you. And you have an hour because I have another special thing for action takers, okay? Here, it was $297 to do this. For all of you that showed up here and spent all this time watching me, I'm giving you all that 2 months of training for $97, right? And it's because I know if I show up for you that we're going to deliver and we could have a chance for a lifetime relationship to where you're generating profit month after month, year after year. My average client's been with me 11 years. I have people that are saving during this 2 months of training, saving 10 points to their bottom line. If you're doing $50,000 a month, that means it's worth $5,000 to you in real money to your bottom line pushed. Okay. I have some testimonials here for you. I have a 20-year track record of delivering, and I'm doing this too. I actually did this for a while for free because it's like $97. Like I have like 5 coaches and all of our people helping with it, and our team constantly in there helping you with it. It's because we're making a difference in the lives of people doing this. And you may be going like, oh, I'm so busy. I don't have 60 days to commit to anything, right? Well, if that's you, you actually need it more than the next person. Because if you are so overwhelmed that you can't make that time to work on your business, to do recipe costing cards, to do inventory, to get your books done, to automate all your pricing, to have training systems implemented, to have checklist systems implemented, to have scheduling and scheduling on purpose and budgets and forecasting and like all these systems and all these things you're supposed to be doing anyway. And I'm saying, hey, I'm going to come work with you side by side, then you have to make time for that. You're doing it anyway, so you might as well show up to have somebody do it with you and giving you the tools, right? If you go through the whole 2 months and you go, hey, this isn't right for me, you can actually download all your stuff. You can download your inventories, your recipe costing cards. So your work, if you decide it's not right for you, the work isn't for nothing. The work is there, and it's work that you have to do anyways too. So we help you with it. We show you the best possible way to do it. Rachel dropped the link in the chat. You can click that. I have another incentive for you though, because I like to reward people that take action. Okay. So if you sign up for this in the next hour, I have a, where is it? I have, let's see, where's my catering one? Here we go. I worked with Sandy Coram. And in 2009, she started a business. Can you throw me the catering link for me?
Yeah.
Just for me, because the action takers get it. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Let me try that. There we go. I want to show it to you guys. If you sign up for this, I'm going to give you this and in this too. It's logging me in the other one too. So in this catering program I'm giving you, it is Sandy Coram. You can look her up. She's from the Festive Kitchen and her company is the Catering Coach. She's retired this year from being the Catering Coach. And she's been a Restaurant Systems Pro customer since like 2007, 2008. And over the years, so I helped her start her business. And when she retired, she said, hey, Fred, I have all the stuff that I've created for restaurants to increase their catering. I have it for them to have catering proposals, for them to bid out catering, for them to, checklist for loading trucks, how to load bins, how to training on doing tastings, how to best sell, how to market, like literally everything that you need to do from A to Z in catering, she gave to me because I helped her start her business in 2009. And she's been making it better every year from 2009 to last year. And she has other things going on in her life, and she's just focusing on her catering business right now. And so she has given me that catering program. And I'm giving you all the recordings and trainings for anybody that signs up for the Restaurant Mastery System in the next hour. So I want to reward the action takers. I want to reward the people that show up there. So I believe that there's not a better offer out there for the amount that we're going to do for you. And prove me wrong, right? If I'm wrong, you're going to make way more back and you're going to have these systems. And the thing is, it gives me the confidence to give what I'm giving because I know I'm right. I know that I can help you. I know that I can make your restaurant better on many different levels too. And guess what? We do it. It's not this like, it's for everyone, right? It's everyone can benefit from it too. So we're going to show up to serve you in a big way. Watch that video on that Restaurant Mastery page. And we want to show up for you. I'm going to stick around. If anybody has questions, there's the Q&A. Use the Q&A. I'm going to answer questions for you. If you have any questions about what we're doing, who we are, how we're doing, anything on any of the stuff that I just taught you right now, shoot me the questions. I'm free to answer them at this point.
Alex just purchased.
Thank you, Alex. Yep, Alex, it's going to be, you just purchased, Rachel's going to send it to you. Yes, it is. So we have many people that aren't open yet that are going through it. In fact, Maurice, when we do our workshop, we ask people who wishes they had this before they ever opened. And to a T, they say yes on there. Everybody raises their hand and they raise it high. I wish I had this before I opened. In fact, there's a lot of regret for a lot of owners that have wasted profits over the years. And so, So yes, it is absolutely valuable because, I mean, think about it. We're doing those budgets for you to have that budget before you ever open, to have staffing guidelines and training in place and inventory set up and products done and recipe costing cards before you open. You actually have more time to work on this stuff than the people that are open and operating. It is a little bit harder when you don't have the daily sales to put in, but when you're in the group with people that are operating, you're able to learn really well. And I have many people that do it and do it multiple times even. Hopefully that answers your question. You're welcome, Maurice. My pleasure. Right. I do want to show up for you. I'm going to give it, sometimes it takes a minute to type it in, but we're here to serve you well. We're launching a POS system. We have our full accounting system with balance sheet and bill pay. It's all tied in. It replaces QuickBooks, makes your life easier, no double entry. We also integrate with QuickBooks for those that want to stay in there, where we can push your data into it there. So you're very welcome, Jeff. If you're unable, can I get a link for future purchase? Yes, use that. You have to email Rachel. Time is ticking on that too, so we want the action takers there. So, but yes, reach out to Rachel. Are you typing? Rachel's typing her email into you. Save her email and contact her, and she'll remember you, Maurice. Deanna Marie, thank you so much. My husband and I will definitely be joining the program. Thank you so much. I'm glad it was helpful to you too. And if this was helpful, man, we're going to dig into actually working on your restaurant. This isn't just me selling software for 2 months to you. It's actually us digging in and working on your restaurant with you, setting up your inventory with you, setting up your recipe cards with you, doing your budget with you, doing all those stuff. The timing on the POS system is we are already in restaurants now, and it's launching fully by the end of next month to public there. Okay. It's called Serve, SRVE. We've named it because it's our mission to serve you well and to have all of these restaurant we'll be the only POS system on the planet that has full accounting and all the restaurant management systems fully in there. Other POS systems are trying to add that stuff, but that's where we're at with it there. So, all right, if you don't see the link there for purchase, let's see. Everyone, I'm reposting it at the bottom of the chat for everyone. Go to that link, and that's there for you. So, Paul, hopefully, answered your question on that POS timing next month too. And I acquired the intellectual property of an existing POS system that was actually been on the market since 2017. So it's not like we're just putting it on the market. I acquired the company. We're revamping it to be the best because we have better reach and better understanding of restaurants than anybody out there. I'm not trying to be egotistical. I'm just we have a lot of knowledge. I still have a lot to learn. Let me be very clear. I learn every day, but we have a really good with KDS and the printers and connection to our system is really the next level of POS systems too. So appreciate that. The recording of the session, yeah, your kids were distracting you, Garrett. The recording will be sent out to everybody that signed up by tomorrow. Yes. All right, I'm going to hang out another few minutes. I know that people are typing. All right, we are here to serve you well. I appreciate you all. I'm honored to have had your time and attention, and I look forward to the opportunity to work with you long into the future. Like I said, my clients are an average of 11 years, so I actually become friends with our clients. And if I spend 60 days with you, we're going to become close. It's just inevitable. And so I look forward to that opportunity. All right, everybody. We are signing off, and the recording will be sent tomorrow. Thank you.